and thank you for tuning in to our session to learn about leveraging new compliance APIs to enable custom and repeatable workflows for litigation, investigations, and more. My name is Fitzgerald, and I'm the Senior Product Marketing Manager for our eDiscovery solutions. I'm joined here today with Nick Robinson, the Principal Product Manager for eDiscovery at Microsoft. Here is a snapshot of what we're going to cover today. First, a quick overview of our approach to building a robust ecosystem and extensibility platform to support organizations and the challenges they face. Then, we will give a brief overview of the Microsoft Graph eDiscovery API, followed by a demo. We will then close with next steps to help you find additional information and share your feedback to help influence product development. We know that the vast majority of enterprise customers are multi-cloud, so they are looking to reason over their entire multi-cloud data landscape, including Microsoft data. Not only is this data across a range of systems and applications, but it's also subject to rapidly evolving global regulations. Solutions in this space are fragmented and can result in exposure gaps, missed regulatory requirements, slowed digital transformation, failed audits, or risking brand reputation. The market has responded with dozens of products that address fragments of the data governance and compliance landscape, forcing chief data, security, compliance, and legal officers to stitch together a patchwork of solutions that don't work well together, expose infrastructure gaps, and are costly and complex to manage. In fact, a recent survey of decision makers showed that to meet their compliance and data protection needs, almost 80% had to purchase multiple products, and a majority had purchased 3 or more. It's not just more work, it's also ineffective. Security outcomes are worse, audits are failed, legal cases lost, brand reputation damaged. That's why we are building our compliance platform to be extensible and solving for our customers' multi-cloud reality. We see ecosystem and extensibility as a horizontal capability and partners as a key enabler of this across all compliance and privacy solution areas. Here are the key areas of our investments for Microsoft Purview ecosystem. To enable our customers to reason over their entire data landscape, including Microsoft and non-Microsoft systems. We are constantly expanding our connector platform and enabling ready-to-use Microsoft and partner-built connectors. We have partnered with Veritas, Telemessage, 17A4, and CellTrust to deliver 70+ ready-to-use connectors to date. Many of these connectors are also available in government cloud environments. For in-place compliance value spanning across structured and unstructured data, we have Purview Data Catalog that covers multiple cloud data repositories such as AWS S3 buckets, Oracle, and SAP, to name a few. We are continuing to expand this coverage as well. To enable system-level integrations and enabling compliance in the flow of work, we are doubling down on our investments in APIs. We have a number of Microsoft Graph APIs and Microsoft Information Protection SDKs that enable several compliance and privacy-related scenarios. We are continuing to add new APIs as well as enhancing existing ones. Today's focus is, of course, our Microsoft Graph APIs for eDiscovery, which we will go into detail very shortly. To meet the unique needs of our customers, we are also investing in built-in customizations. We are enabling built-in Power Automate templates that, among other things, allows customers to extend compliance workflows to third-party SaaS apps such as ServiceNow. And last but not least, we have a robust partner ecosystem enabled by Microsoft Intelligent Security Association, otherwise known as MISA. All right, last slide before I hand it over to Nick for the demo. Just want to remind you that Microsoft Purview eDiscovery, formerly known as Advanced eDiscovery, helps customers quickly find relevant data to respond to their legal and regulatory needs. It is built with native capabilities for Microsoft Teams, SharePoint Online, OneDrive for Business, and Exchange Online, so it simplifies the discovery and review of Microsoft 365 content. Customers can manage workflows in Microsoft 365 with an end-to-end eDiscovery workflow to identify, preserve, collect, process, review, and analyze content, which can be conducted in place to minimize the risk of managing large volumes of duplicate data outside the Microsoft 365 security and compliance boundaries. This helps to reduce costs by exporting only what is relevant. It also uses machine learning and AI to help customers to reduce and cull large volumes of data in place. The Graph API for eDiscovery extends the workflow and the user experience. The APIs support creating and managing all major eDiscovery types of resources: cases, holds, collections, review sets, and exports. And the team is working on supporting more types of resources via API going forward. Customers can create apps to automate common and repetitive processes like case creation, custodian management, hold management, etc. If a customer regularly has high volume of internal investigations, the admin does not need to go through the UX over and over again to create and manage cases and other entities. Automation ensures scale and produces relevant content quickly. Automation creates a repeatable, predictable, consistent process to reduce potential human error. Lastly, if you and your customer has a unique need in eDiscovery that can't be met by our in-house eDiscovery solution, the eDiscovery API enables third-party provider integration seamlessly. For example, you can first use the API to automate culling data in place and tag the unique files. This reduces the volume of data export. Then you can use the eDiscovery API to export the tagged content to third-party solutions for further usage, like reporting or analysis. I'm now going to pass it over to Nick to do a demo of some common scenarios. Nick, all yours.
Thanks, Caitlin. It's great to hear some of the challenges customers have reported and how we are responding with our development efforts. Before we jump into the demo, I wanted to set some context on how the eDiscovery APIs are set up and what you can expect as you start to dig in and get started. So what we've done is created APIs for each component of the eDiscovery workflow, so you can target activities via the API quickly for specific actions such as case creation, adding a person of interest or custodian to a case, applying a hold to ensure potentially important content is preserved, kicking off a specific collection with query conditions and criteria for that case, establishing review set tags for efficient review, and more. In this way, you can target your API activities to the specific actions you would take in a case and ensure that the strategic approaches you use to preserve, collect, and review content with precision in the eDiscovery portal carry over to the way you set up the execution via the APIs. This structure represents a key difference from the workload APIs provided by the various app teams via Graph. For example, the Teams Export API provides an export of Teams content, which can be very useful for journaling or compliance archive scenarios. But what we hear from customers and partners is that journaling everything out of Microsoft 365 is too heavy a process, especially with the volume of content being created in organizations today. In addition, there's no precision baked into that process. With the eDiscovery APIs, you can target specific sources, collect content with queries, and harness the eDiscovery workflows to reduce content required to be exported from Microsoft 365 to manage the overall cost and risk of the eDiscovery process. We're seeing customers do some amazing things to manage their costs around eDiscovery using these tools, and we're super excited about the potential to do even more now that they are supported with Graph APIs. One of the reasons we are getting really excited about the eDiscovery APIs is that almost every time we talk to a customer or a partner, we hear of new or different scenarios they have in mind for the eDiscovery APIs, from automation of bulk jobs that are run on a daily or weekly basis, to operationalizing day-to-day tasks for easier execution or creating integrations to meet users where they are in their workflow, or chaining of multi-step processes together, especially for scenarios that are happening on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, or integrating strong connections into existing line of business apps or other solutions. The APIs can help automate and integrate a number of requirements to meet the specific needs of your workflow and business context. We've already seen some really cool implementations for both partners and customers, and the potential to harness the APIs for custom workflows is tremendous. For the first demo, we'll focus on the business user intake form. We know that many organizations have an intake process to kick off an eDiscovery or investigation workflow so that business users from various departments, whether it be HR, legal, or risk, can quickly submit a request via a form, Excel, or other easy-to-use tool, and then the investigation specialist will take those requests, create a case, identify data sources that should be preserved, and start to collect content. With the APIs, the business user intake form can be integrated directly and automatically create a case, identify custodians, and start collections. Let's take a look. So first off, we'll start with a simple executable console app to show how this can work. We'll take a look at how a case management Excel spreadsheet and show how you can build a simple business user intake form. This form, when executed, will look for any changes and execute updates directly into the eDiscovery portal. So let's take a look at how to get this set up and running for your organization. The place to get started is with the eDiscovery Graph documentation. The documentation provides examples for all the requests that you could make. The default approach is the REST APIs. You can see exactly where you would make the post request, and you can see samples across a variety of languages that you might use to establish this connection into eDiscovery. The graph client is the pipeline into the graph itself and the way that you get down to the resources. And you can see here, add async, and this is to push the business user requests into the eDiscovery portal directly. Next, let's take a look at a super simple business user intake form that we've set up to name the case, set the sync to eDiscovery status, true or false, name the set of custodians or persons of interest that we know should be part of the case, and kick off the first search and collection for the case with specified query parameters. This XLS is something I can put on a SharePoint site and provide to my business users, or I could even go a bit fancier with a Microsoft form or other interface for my business users to quickly come in, make a request for a case with a case name and some basic components, and have that kick off automatically into the eDiscovery portal without any effort required on the part of my technology team. Let's quickly take a look at the eDiscovery case list before executing the application to see the cases that I have created via the portal and the intake form. Once I have the updates in, I can quickly kick the app off and run and sync up. This is what kicks off the integration with the eDiscovery portal and takes the content of the XLS and uses it to create objects and jobs within eDiscovery. Now that this is kicked off, I'll quickly navigate over to the eDiscovery portal and see that the Margie's Travel versus Munson's Pickles and Preserves Farm case has been created. And jumping into the new case, I can validate that the components of the case as defined in the Excel are also created. On the Data Sources tab, I can verify that the defined custodian is added to the case, and the associated custodial data sources are now on hold. On the Collection tab, I can see that the collection defined was created with the query conditions specified from the XLS and is now in progress. With this super quick demo, we've shown how a business user in your organization can provide some simple content and context, and a basic console app can quickly kick off all the processes that would usually require an eDiscovery admin to directly engage into the eDiscovery portal. The quick start based on information provided by business users improves the speed to outcomes and reduces the overhead required to quickly move forward with business critical processes based on core requirements from non-eDiscovery specialists. And before we wrap up this demo, let's take a quick look at the code we used to put this together. You can see here in the related GitHub repo the case name and the associated pieces, as well as the custodian values that populate the case container once it's been created. Next up, we want to take a quick look at integrating eDiscovery for business users where they're doing most of their work, in Microsoft Teams, of course. The next scenario will build on the business user intake form scenario we just looked at. So in this scenario, we want to build a custom application that leverages the eDiscovery APIs that work to bring data from eDiscovery into the place where your employees are doing their day-to-day work. Not only will we bring content into the user's workflow, but we can also integrate into other apps that your teams are using regularly, such as Microsoft To Do. What we're going to do is build a Teams personal application to bring the experience into the context of your employees' work. We'll leverage the Microsoft Graph Toolkit and React to do this. In order to get started with this scenario, you'll need Microsoft Teams, client-side tech to leverage Microsoft Graph and React, as well as access to the Microsoft Graph endpoints via Graph Explorer or other tools like Postman. So let's take a quick look at the outcome first. Now in Teams, I've executed the integration and have a new node called AED Explorer available on the left navigation. This AED Explorer brings my eDiscovery case list experience right into Microsoft Teams. And of course integrates with other apps such as To Do, so I can quickly make notes and actions for myself related to my eDiscovery cases. I can see at the top, I can quickly add a task directly to To Do from my AED Explorer. In this case, I know I need to take action on a particular case, so I select that case, click Add To Do, and I can add this to my personal list of items I need to take care of. So how do we do this with the eDiscovery APIs? Let's quickly look at how to fetch cases from the API. Here I can see some components of the code that allow me to call the Graph API client across all the languages that you might need, provide a specific list of cases from the API, check my permissions to make sure that I have the permissions to use this data, and then populate the list of cases into the AED Explorer view integrated into Teams. And once you know how to use the Microsoft Graph, you can use any component on Microsoft Graph to help your users be more productive. In this case, I can create a task within To-Do based on the list of eDiscovery cases. And looking more closely here, I can see To-Do tasks options and use that to extend my integration to work with more applications. Integrating To-Do into my AED Explorer helps ease the burden for users and improves the day-to-day workflow of interacting with the eDiscovery portal for common activities. So we have just seen how I can quickly create a custom intake form for my business users and integrate into experiences users are working in every day. Now I'm sure folks are thinking, how do I get started with all of this? We have some great resources available for next steps. Take a look at the documentation. Get familiar with Graph Explorer and provide feedback on your experience as you get going. Back to you, Caitlin.
Very cool demo, Nick, and thank you for showcasing some very relevant scenarios that our customers and partners are using today with the eDiscovery APIs. All right, well, that's all the time we have here today, and we hope you enjoyed learning about the eDiscovery APIs. We encourage you to check out the AKA link shared here for more detailed information, as well as check out the other on-demand session discussing Graph APIs. Lastly, we'd appreciate any feedback you'd like to share on the eDiscovery API itself. Please use the QR code to access a short survey. Thanks again for tuning in, and enjoy the rest of Microsoft Build.